We have a few questions that we'd like to have you answer. And my first question is, what about HighScope intrigued you, and what made you want to accept the HighScope's presidency?
So throughout my studies in my PhD of curriculum and instruction in early childhood, the HighScope Preschool has always been a monumental study in early childhood. And it all started here. And when the opportunity came to apply to be president of HighScope, to me, it is the leader in research and curriculum for early childhood. I knew I had to come here. In addition to that, we have partnered when I was a principal in the San Antonio Independent School District, we had to partner with a nonprofit. And I knew that the only nonprofit that I could ever have a partnership with was HighScope, because they really embody what is considered high quality early childhood education.
Alejandra, can you tell us about your experience conducting research and how it has informed your practice?
Yes. So I worked for 7 years on my PhD at the University of Texas in Austin. And throughout my studies, I was able to, of course, read a lot of research. And I also was able to participate in research projects that UT Austin had and worked on at Carroll at my school. While I was studying my PhD, I worked full time. And I think that was, it really was helpful because we had practice and theory working together. And so within that practice, the university was able to come out and we were able to see research. I was able to see how the process of research happened throughout an entire year. We were able to work with different universities around the world. So then we were able to understand how other universities do research. And then finally, of course, during my dissertation, I worked on a qualitative study in trying to understand what administrators, how they, their thoughts on early childhood. I saw that there was a gap in the literature of what administrators are saying in our high quality early childhood practices. So I knew that I had to study that more. So that's my experience with research.
My question is, given the significant long-term impact that COVID-19 is likely to have on our early learning systems, our educators, our families, and our children, what do you see will be the biggest challenge in the upcoming year?
I think the biggest challenge for early childhood education is the lack of social contact of our children with others. You know, one of the things that we love about the early years is really the opportunities for children to interact. And that's what we are seeing that we are lacking. Another thing is that there has been an increased use of technology, you know, a lot of Zooms, a lot of those practices. And while we have been able to, you know, give devices to children, we also need to be very careful because we don't want an overuse of technology for a developing brain. This is a really difficult time for parents as well. Some of them have to work from home. Some of them have to leave their children with family members to take care of them. So we have to work together with parents and also understand what are their needs so that we can provide support from the school and also from our curriculum. So this will, you know, really push us to think about what do we need to do in our curriculum to be able to provide additional support to parents and to teachers.
Many people are uncomfortable with change. As the new president, what are some ideas that you have to help the transition easier for everyone here at HighScope?
We have to innovate. We have to be able to meet the needs of like I mentioned, of our community, of our teachers that are coming out from the universities, who are going into the classrooms. We have to meet the needs of our parents, who at times, so there's so many changes going on only in our stakeholders in our communities, that we have to be able to meet their needs. We have to have a growth mindset ourselves to say, let's listen, let's learn from each other, and let's take risk into making some changes. Change at times can be good. I think if we're able, we can learn from change. It shows us also how do we deal with difficult situations. I think COVID has taught us that. So while change seems like a hard word for people at times, I think we should keep like a really positive outlook, and change is always, in my opinion, I'm optimistic, it's a good thing.
Related to the question on change, how will you and the background that you bring to the organization help move HighScope into the future?
I hope I really can bring in both the practice and the theory part of understanding a curriculum, and really, because I have used HighScope in our schools, I know the impact of what it does when you are applying the curriculum to fidelity. When you are actually adopting the curriculum, I can speak to the strength of our curriculum. I can speak to the strength of our research team. As a school, we received a report from our research department from some of the findings that they had when they visited our schools. It was a wonderful report that I had never, as a principal, received something so thorough. So we have research. We also have had professional development offered by HighScope. So our teachers have been trained through, and we are really hoping to train all our staff. So I've also had an opportunity of seeing the whole process of the course of the preschool curriculum course, and the effect it's had as the teachers go through the training and then they put it into practice. And so we have all that embodied in HighScope. And so the potential for us to be able to share this with the world is just really an incredible opportunity.
Please share your vision for HighScope's present and potential future international institutes.
I think there's a lot that we can learn from other countries, and that we can share, they can share with us some of the practices, and that we could possibly even implement into our curriculum. Opening up our international institute opens up our opportunities to learn from each other. So there is just a wealth of knowledge all over the world on early childhood practices. And I think our international institutes just add more opportunity for us to learn and to think about how that can influence our curriculum, how we can also continue research, and how we can also modify practices that we might be having within our school systems in the US.
In the recent months, the death of George Floyd and others have really shed a light on issues of racism and racial equity here in the United States. Mm-hmm. In August, HighScope put out a Ready statement addressing some of these important issues. Thinking about the future, what is one concrete strategy that HighScope can do to address race and equity in early childhood?
It is a very important topic, and I think we have to be in the forefront of this conversation, because the reason why HighScope started with a preschool study was because at that time, Dave Weichert understood that there were some inequities in education. So that is the reason HighScope started. And so we have to come back and be the leaders in this conversation. And not only, with our curriculum, but we really have to start impacting policy makers, because what we've seen in the past couple of months is that our brown and Black children, our Black and brown communities have been impacted significantly. And my whole career, I've worked in underserved areas. And what I learned is that when you have high quality early childhood education, like we've been able to offer, we are leading and we are changing the dynamic of how people perceive underserved children. And we're giving those children a voice.
What career accomplishments are you most proud of?
I am going to share two experiences, or two things that I really am most proud of. I really love what I call growing our own, identifying people's strengths and really encouraging them to go beyond. So I think one of the things that I've always really has made me proud is identifying the strengths in people and creating leaders. And by leaders, it's not only, a leader is not only, the principal or the person in charge. There's so many leaders in an organization. So that's the first. The second is, as a teacher, I had a student who would always come into my classroom and she would always say, I'm going to be a doctor. And I would say, Miss Dr. Dominique, you are going to be a doctor. And so over the years, she has kept in touch, and she, invited me to her high school graduation where she spoke as a valedictorian. And then she kept me informed when she finished her undergraduate degree in 3 years, and is now in her second year of medical school to be an obstetrician. And every year she sends me an email and she just tells me what a huge impact I had on her life. So if we know that if we can change just one life, if everyone does that, just changes one life, then we have done our job.
How exciting. How exciting is that? Thank you so much. Thank you.